Hi everyone, Julia here, recording this November 5th, 2024, and this is Archaix Cliff Notes. Jason Persier's, the founder of Archaix, which is an acronym for Advanced Research of Chronological History of Artificial Intelligence X, spent 26 years in the Texas prison system. Growing up, Jason was required by his adoptive mother to read 2 books a week and write a report on his nonfiction choice. From age 5, when he was adopted, Jason was raised in a strict Christian church-going home. By age 15, when Jason ran away from home, he was already an avid reader. At age 17, Jason landed in prison. According to Jason, his accomplice, whom he hijacked a car with, sexually assaulted the 19-year-old woman driving the car. Jason managed to get the perpetrator to go inside a convenience store while he drove the girl to the police station to report the crime and to turn himself in for carjacking and kidnapping. Due to court and police force politics at the time, Jason got the short end of the stick with respect to sentencing. Thus, he was not on his best behavior, which ultimately led to his 26 years of imprisonment. Some avoid Jason's work because of his past, not believing his account of the crimes committed. I feel that he more than paid the price for his crimes. While in prison, Jason had the opportunity to read hundreds and hundreds of old books, many donated to the Texas prison system from major universities and libraries as they upgraded their inventory and technology. Jason also took detailed notes and constructed charts to illustrate his discovery, along with writing his own books. Jason has merged historical accounts with mythological accounts to come to his conclusions concerning our history. When Jason was finally released from prison, he was a published author with some bold information he felt he needed to share. After releasing his first video about the Phoenix event, a 138-year reset cycle event, Jason had a motorcycle accident, allowing him to have an unusual experience that made him decide that we live in a simulation. An entire year later, Jason released his second video, which is about simulation theory. He says that this simulation is a biosentient containment field primarily utilized to perform DNA experiments to make resistant humans and other life forms so as not to contaminate the real world as they search for ways to survive the Nemesis event, the 792-year destructive cycle. Jason proposes that we are simulating a real world and that the real world doesn't necessarily have a predator-prey dynamic. The avatars that we're currently housed in are products of DNA experiments with primates and Anuna, also known as Anunnaki. Jason surmises that the Anuna created a dark, smooth-skinned race of workers, then mixed in some of their DNA, and then actually bred with the slave race, ultimately creating Caucasians. Jason sometimes refers to this as the Nemesis simulation, proposing the possibility that we are simulating a real catastrophe in a real reality where the Nemesis X object, also known as Planet X, also known as Nibiru, passes near Earth in its 792-year orbit cycle, always causing extreme havoc planet-wide. We could currently, potentially, be in pods on a spaceship, jacked into the simulacrum via our central nervous system, which also acts as a filter utilizing our 5 basic senses to limit our perception so we are not aware of all that we have access to. Jason proclaims that we are immortal souls journeying through this experience to grow and evolve and to share our acquired wisdom with others, both here and beyond. Jason is a proponent of reincarnation, stating that one lifetime isn't long enough to really grow and evolve. He says that we've all been every race and both genders throughout our lifetimes. Jason believes that ultimately the oversoul, God, source, the universe is in control, and that's why everything always works out in the end. Jason has deduced that this program/simulation is periodically reset, and ultimately it will end in the year 2178. But any who have not absorbed the necessary gnosis and wisdom, hence vibrating at the proper frequency needed to exit the simulation when it ends, will be required to participate in the next simulation, which will again loop for many lifetimes. According to Jason, we will experience the next Phoenix event in mid-May 2040 and the next Nemesis event in early November 2046. The Phoenix event is a reset event, sometimes mild, sometimes extreme, and it occurs every 138 years. The Phoenix event is localized and selective, targeting and eliminating those with evil or fearful frequencies. Another purpose of the Phoenix event is to reset our technology so we don't figure out that we're in a simulation, and to keep the evil leaders somewhat at bay. The Nemesis event occurs every 792 years and is devastating everywhere and not selective. Jason has data to support that Earth was part of a binary system and formerly orbited our second, brighter sun, which collapsed, resulting in the Earth's current orbit around the seen sun. The Nemesis object is still in orbit around the second unseen sun. The Earth will return to that orbit in 2046, resulting in 30% shorter days and years. The quickening. At the time of the sun collapsing event, there was an advanced civilization that had been here for many centuries. 90% were wiped out, with the survivors moving underground, where many technologically advanced civilizations still reside. The survivors living underground included some of the Anuna. The Anuna only present themselves when the Nemesis object is near. Upon the collapse of the second sun, the Earth was a frozen wasteland, not rotating for 270 years. The survivors stayed underground and flourished. Jason is a proponent of catastrophism theory, which explains our geological features via singular catastrophic events and not as a result of millions of years. He points out the many flaws in the way mainstream science determines the ages of formations and artifacts. Jason has research to support that we had a vapor canopy atmosphere in the past, where the sun was not seen during the day. The daytime sky was dark purple, and the nighttime sky was bright and clear, with all the celestial bodies appearing much bigger and brighter due to the water in the mesosphere, the vapor canopy, acting as a magnifier. People slept during the day and were led by matriarchal rulers. The ambient atmosphere had a different proportion of oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, etc., along with different pressures and electromagnetism levels, allowing humans to have superpowers, with everything growing to astonishing sizes. Dinosaurs were simply extremely large reptiles and amphibians. Titans were normal-sized humans during vapor canopy periods. Once the vapor canopy collapsed, causing the Great Flood mentioned throughout history and mythology, then everything changed. The sun can now be seen. Things don't grow as big. Superpowers diminish. The first generation offspring of the Titans are giants. and the following generations are normal-sized humans. Many historical and archaeological anomalies can be explained with Jason's findings. Jason thinks that the Anunnaki, the Anuna, played a huge part in developing the population of the planet. They perhaps originated from Nemesis, but now primarily live underground or enter through portals interdimensionally. Some of the Anuna are benefactors. As we are in an enclosed sentient biosphere, UAPs are from underground or interdimensional and not from outer space, which is holographic and not really there. Large populations live underground, and the elite who know about these cyclical events are currently preparing to also go underground. Jason has made a connection between the Great Pyramid of Giza and the protocols of the simulation. Several values like 138, pi, phi, their product, 5.08, are encoded throughout measurements in the Great Pyramid, which is one of a kind. Other encoded numbers, such as 2178 and the fine structure constant, which is approximately 1/137, are considered further support for this being a simulation. All other pyramids are just non-functioning imitations of the Great Pyramid, which was initially covered with white limestone casing blocks, displaying true chronologies for the history of the world via cuneiform writings. Many of the removed casing blocks were used to build the city of Cairo. The Great Pyramid is also a device that assists in keeping the protocols of the simulation functioning. Jason speculates that there has been interference in the program by what he calls Artificial Intelligence X, or AIX. AIX has perhaps assisted in allowing certain default programming, which causes individuals to become trapped in a frequency of fear, thus manifesting an unhappy existence, as opposed to vibrating in a frequency of love and certainty, manifesting a happy, fulfilling existence. Jason teaches that we can override default programming and offers many tips on how to do this in his videos and in his book, Awaken the Immortal Within. Jason thinks we volunteered to be here and that this is not a soul trap, but a challenging opportunity to develop our immortal personalities. Jason explains that written history only goes back about 7,000 years, and anything that happened before that is simply speculation. He illustrates how calendars are made in retrospect and are used to control the narrative. He published Chronicon, a masterpiece which outlines written history precisely. He points out a huge error made by researchers concerning counting time in years as opposed to days, due to mistakes regarding units of measurement. Much shorter periods of time elapsed than has been proposed regarding the Atlantis narrative, Vedic teachings, Mayan calendar interpretations, and other sources. This correction syncs the teachings around the world and gives us a new perspective on current historical timelines. Jason has determined that we're now on a 4-year cycle, which started in 2020, with respect to the prophecies from the book of Revelations, to be played out with the seal being broken every 4 years. He says the first 2 seals have been broken. Whether or not Jason is correct about the cyclical events proposed, he nonetheless has a huge volume of newly discovered data to bring to the truther table. It's up to those following his work to discern what resonates as being probable. All right, everyone, thanks for listening. I hope you have a great morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. Remember to stay focused on what you want and help others if you can. Ciao, ciao.